Hello, Year 5. Good afternoon. It is really a beautiful day here. Sun has properly come out. I'm looking out my window at a beautiful cherry tree. It's fully in blossom. So it's a lovely afternoon to be doing a bit of RE with you. We're thinking today about Muslim charities and how they respond to climate change. Because what we're doing for the next few lessons is we're looking at how different Muslim organisations and individual Muslim people actually respond to the kind of crisis that we've outlaid over the last two lessons, and how what we looked at last lesson, which is stewardship. Can you tell me what stewardship means again? So stewardship is the idea that Muslims have to look after God's creation or Allah's creation, and it was a gift from Allah and a gift that they need to care for and look after. So we're going to look at today how Muslim charities, and one in particular, responds to climate change. Okay, so one of the five pillars of Islam is zakat. Now, I don't know whether you've ever looked at the five pillars before. I think you might have done, but that's just a guess on my half. The five pillars are the five different ways that Muslims try and live their life. So, for example, praying, fasting during Ramadan, going on the Hajj pilgrimage, things like that. And zakat is one of those. And zakat is where Muslims give 2.5% of their income to charity each year. So that means if a Muslim made £1,000 in a year, they would have to give £25 to charity. And if a Muslim made £10,000 in a year, they would have to give £250 to charity, and so on. So let's have a look at one of these charities that they quite often choose to give their zakat donation to. And that is Islamic Relief. And Islamic Relief is a very popular British charity. It was founded in 1984 and it works on humanitarian and development projects. And humanitarian means looking after people when there's been a natural disaster or a drought or a fire or a flood, something like that. And developmental means making sure that people have the tools and the ability they need to be able to look after themselves. So providing them with ways to farm the land or to make money, things like that. And they do that in around 50 countries around the world. Okay, we are going to look at their campaign against climate change, and specifically we're going to look at how a cyclone, which is like a big huge tropical storm that hits various different countries around the world, how a cyclone, how they responded to that. Why do you think a charity which seeks to help those affected by natural disasters, floods and drought would want to fight climate change? Let you have a think about that. Well, it's because if you remember from what we looked at in our first lesson, all of those things are being made worse by climate change. So the floods being caused by the ice caps melting, and drought, which is where you don't have enough water, being caused by that increase in temperatures that we looked at. So in your pack, actually, you've got a copy of this bit of reading. And what I would like to do is read it at the same time as you. So if you can get this in front of you, we can read it together. And then I've also got another little bit of reading to do, and then you're going to answer the questions in your pack. So I'll just give you a sec to grab that in front of you. I'm being a bit... Okay. Over 1,000 people die each day because of us, because of our greed, overconsumption, wastefulness. Millions of people around the world are suffering. Whether it's our diet or travel, nearly everything we do produces greenhouse gases, which are heating the planet. This contributes to extreme weather such as floods, drought and famine. What we do at home is directly affecting communities worldwide. Gosh, that's really heavy and quite depressing to read. So I hope that this charity isn't just making us feel guilty. I hope that they're going to provide some ideas of what Muslims or what we could do to prevent that from happening. So let's keep reading. Allah says in the Holy Quran, "To save a life, it is as if you have saved all of mankind." That's a really famous quote from the Quran. Basically, looking after just a couple of people is like saving all of humanity. People are dying. It's time to change. The UK has a proud record of taking international action on climate change, and this year the UK committed to a target for when our greenhouse gas emissions will reach net zero making Britain the first major economy to do so. However, we think the government can do better. And net zero just means when the amount of carbon dioxide, greenhouse gases created is the same as the amount of carbon dioxide or greenhouse gases that are eliminated or gotten rid of. So, for example, you might burn some wood to make something, but then you would plant a tree to make sure it's replacing it, because trees produce oxygen, which is good for the environment. Islamic Relief is calling on the UK government to adopt the following. Number 1, achieving the net zero greenhouse gas target by, if not before, 2045. Number 2, immediately outlining plans to increase the policies and funding needed to achieve net zero emissions, or no effective emissions, so to make the UK what's called carbon neutral, where we don't put any greenhouse gases into the atmosphere that aren't cancelled out by something else. This will help prevent further climate disasters and save hundreds of thousands of lives. If we don't act now, the damage will be irreversible. We need you to call upon your MP and add their name to a joint letter to the Prime Minister asking the government to fulfil their pledge and commit to the target in law before it's too late. Climate change is killing people. Take action now. Write to your MP and save lives. Okay, I missed a paragraph as well. Let's go back. I missed this bit here. Just this year, Cyclone Idai swept through Mozambique, Malawi and Zimbabwe, leaving behind a trail of destruction, killing hundreds of people and affecting an estimated 3 million people. And those are very poor countries in Africa that don't have a great deal of money around to be dealing with these things. So that's why Islamic Aid is able to help them. Okay, and there we go. There's the bit that I've just read to you about people dying. And but it doesn't just talk about people dying. It also gives ways that both the country, the government, and individuals can actually help as well. So that's going to be really useful for when you come to do your answer sheet here. Should take you a couple of minutes to do this. It's going to ask you, how many people die each day from the effects of climate change according to the reading that we just did? How did the cyclone affect the people of those countries? Identify 3 things that Islamic Relief wants to happen, both the government, which is these 2 things here, and what Muslim donors should do as well. And then how would a Muslim respond to this campaign, showing their duty of stewardship? That's what I want you to think about. Right. So that should give you a little bit of writing to do now, and I'm really interested in your responses to that and seeing what you've written in your booklet so far. Next lesson we're going to be looking at how a mosque, so where Muslims go to worship, can combat climate change. So we looked at a big Muslim charity organisation. Next we're going to be going down to a smaller scale, looking at what an individual mosque can do. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you next lesson. Bye guys.